Nick, you've been quoted saying that ASML is the most important company in the world that people have never heard of. Can you explain this and say why ASML is so important?
Yeah, so ASML has been a long holding in the Munro Global Growth Fund, and it effectively is a lithography company. So it's a semiconductor fabrication equipment company. It effectively helps build semiconductors. And the reason why ASML is so important is because if we look at semiconductor demand over a long period of time, it is an area of structural growth. This structural growth starts because effectively semiconductors continue to get better. They get cheaper because you can fit more transistors on the semiconductor. And they also get better because as more transistors go on, you can do more and more things. So what we've seen over the last couple of decades is, semiconductors originally were just on computers in big mainframes that you just see at somewhere like NASA. They eventually moved into personal computers, and then they eventually moved onto mobile phones. And then they're now moving into what we now call the Internet of Things, where everything is connected and ultimately everything goes back to the cloud and gets processed by artificial intelligence. And so all of that progression has been enabled by semiconductor manufacturing equipment companies, the companies that enable this shrink on semiconductors to continue. And so as time has gone on and as shrink has continued, it has got harder and harder to fit more and more transistors on the semiconductor. We started in the 70s with roughly 2,000. As we sit here today, there's roughly 54 billion. And to move on from that, it gets incredibly difficult. And so what we've seen in the fabrication equipment industry, or particularly in the lithography equipment industry, is that ASML slowly has become a monopoly. Many companies have effectively dropped out, and ASML effectively now has the only technology that can extend Moore's law from here, hence making it the most important company in the world that no one has ever heard of. And that technology is called EUV technology. There's a picture of a machine here on the slide. That machine, they sell for roughly 138 million euros. That's more than 2 737s. They sell this equipment to companies like TSMC or Samsung or Intel to allow Moore's law to continue. And since they are a monopoly and since we have to have Moore's law continue, we can now fairly easily forecast ASML's earnings to more than triple from here over the next few years. And then even when they get to that point in the future, ASML will then come up with the next technology to allow Moore's law continue, we hope. And so what we're doing when we invest in ASML is seeing a clear path to effectively a tripling of earnings over the next 5 years. And then hence we expect that share price to follow that path into the future. And where we go beyond that, we don't really know, but we know that only one company is probably going to be able to solve that again, and that's ASML. And so that's why we think it's the most important company in the world that no one's ever heard of.